All right. Welcome to the BJJ Executive Podcast. This isn't the start. If you want to start, we've got an episode 1 that is a good intro series. It's about 6 minutes long, so it's a good gateway in. But this is the beginning, and this is the first episode that we're going to do where we're actually going to dive deep in to some of the principles that we wanted to talk about here. And I guess taking a step back and thinking about what we're looking to accomplish. If you're going to be on the path of longevity in jiu-jitsu, I'm not a professional jiu-jitsu guy by any stretch. I'm just a career guy. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I've got kids. I've got a job. And inevitably, the longer you're in this game, the more conflict you'll have. And that conflict, you've got choices and you've got a balance that needs to be achieved. And a lot of times, rightfully so, jiu-jitsu ends up taking a back seat. And it certainly has in my journey. It's taken me a long time to just sort of figure out what I want to do with this whole thing. Do I want to continue training? Do I want to continue to be beat? Am I any good? You know, all of those voices that are in your head. And luckily I had good people around me that kind of pulled me up. And it took multiple times. There's been a lot of times that I've fallen down. And that's the purpose of this podcast, is to bring people on, bring people that brought me up, bring people on that I know have been brought up. And there isn't anybody I could think of that would be better to start this series than the person I've got here today. And to just give a little bit of an intro, and I'm only going to sell this whole thing short. And so I'll do my best to kind of tee this thing up. But a person that has probably spent hundreds of rounds of competitive jiu-jitsu at the professional level, grappling with some of the best on the planet. Thousands, I would say, of students that have been taught. Several hundred currently at the home academy, and hundreds more throughout the years. And that's if I'm even adding the right number of zeros. And literally, if I do the math over the course of several decades, tens of thousands of hours of mat time. If I were to go through the list of accolades, I would only sell it short, but I know that included in that list is 9 IBJJF World Championships. And if you want to know the rest, then good luck. Go Google it, because it's all over the place. You're going to get an immediate hit. I've got on as my first guest, my teacher, a person who's been a mentor for me over the last couple of years and has really changed the way that I think about jiu-jitsu, and my friend, Rafael Formiga Barbosa. Formiga for short. So Formiga, what's up?
How you doing, guys? How are you, Dave?
Man, I'm glad you're here. And listen, I mean what I said. And I know I'm not alone. I think that that's probably the way that most of your students feel. So
I'm glad to hear that from you, man. Yeah, it's a really nice compliment. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So we were talking a little bit before we got going. Waco was this weekend, and it's been kind of a busy weekend for you. So thanks for spending Monday morning with me.
Welcome. It was busy and good week. We got a trophy as a team, 30th place overall in the gi, and 2nd place in the no gi.
Wow.
Was really good. Yeah, I'm proud about the team. We're doing really well.
I saw the 3rd place, but I didn't get a chance to check in on the no gi. So I'm assuming that some guys did really good on the no-gi.
Yeah, the no-gi was a little smaller, less people competing, but it was good. We got most of the people we have get a place in the podium, and they give you a lot of points to us. That's why we fighting for the 1st place, but we were way short in students. Like the other team has more than double than us, and then that's why we probably end up in the 2nd place, but it was great. Anyways.
Hey, it's jiu-jitsu, man. Quality over quantity, right?
Yes,
position definitely. Before submission, I guess.
Yeah.
So I wish there was an award for that, but I saw that. That's awesome. Is that the first team award?
No, not the first one. That's the first one, in Dallas. For the Waco Open, first Waco Open. We never have the title for the Waco, but we got multiple titles as a team.
Okay,
that's IBJJF Opens, yeah.
That's awesome. What do you think about Waco?
Amazing. I didn't have too much time to go see the place, right? But the competition was really good. A lot of people. It's hard to put that many people in December, almost end the year. Everybody's already thinking about holidays and busy buying, shopping, do everything. But it was cool. A lot of people show up. I'm happy.
Yeah, it's the first time they did at IBJJF in Waco, isn't it?
Well, I don't know.
I think so.
I think probably.
I mean, maybe years ago, but
Yeah.
definitely over the last couple of years, there's been nothing
I think
there.
after COVID, yeah, probably the first time.
Yeah. I was wondering what that center was going to be like. Because, like, when I looked up the location itself, it was like, I mean, I think they do, like, rodeos there and other stuff. And Waco's not a big town.
Yeah,
you know?
I think the way I hear it by my wife, that's famous because they have a couple who do design for houses.
Yeah.
And I think that what make that city really famous because that couple who is designing, they have like a big shopping there. That's what she also want to go in there, you know.
Years ago, and I don't even want to go down this rabbit hole, but years ago, Waco, they had a huge issue with the government there, and there was a big cult and a huge fire and a big I don't know if it was the FBI or what, but that was what Waco was known for years. And then now, like, this, you know, they've totally reinvented themselves. Like, if I talk to somebody that's, 25 years old, they probably don't even know about that history. But in the 90s and the 80s, or I guess it was the 90s, I think it was like 91 when that happened. That's what you knew Waco for. And most people would never have known where Waco was on a map. And then now this design couple is, putting them back, and that's all people think about now. And I know people that have traveled in, like my sister lives in Georgia, and she wants to come to Texas to go to see this group in Waco. I'm like, well, what about me? I'm in Dallas,
Right? Can you drive extra hours?
Yeah, can you come see me? It's crazy. I bet you anybody that's listening to this, their wife probably feels the same way. Those guys are like super famous. But anyway, back to jiu-jitsu. I thought it was cool. I had a good time, and like we were saying, ahead of this, I had no idea how much you guys work during those tournaments. I mean, I saw firsthand. I mean, it was nonstop. So there's never ending. But let's get into it a little bit. Like I said before, I mean, you've literally coached thousands of students. I mean, you've spent tons of times on the mat as well, and obviously have been really successful for it. So there really isn't anybody that would be better to talk about, what are the determinant factors and whether or not somebody is going to be successful or not. And if you needed to encourage somebody, then what better than somebody who does it for a living and does it really good. But not many people know a whole lot about your upbringing, like I mean, including me, like I've been around you enough that I know some tidbits here and there, and we have some mutual connections through the States, and I've heard stories, but I know you grew up in Brazil, and I know that's where you started jiu-jitsu, but let's start things off there. I mean,
it was funny. I started jiu-jitsu because I did a lot of martial arts before. My mommy got a divorce from my daddy when I was 3 years old, and then as a single mom, I think she was worried about like me to get a bully or whatever in the school and she not be able to take care. And she forced me and my brother and my sister we all three need to do a martial art, choose whatever. And then we try capoeira, judo, karate, and we end up doing well, but it was like nothing my passion, I did judo for maybe 2 years, went between 3 to 5 years old, and then was too much like military stuff, I didn't like the rules, like when you step on the mat you cannot play, you cannot talk, like yes sir, no sir. And then I was a kid, I want to be playing, I, of course I want to learn martial arts, but you still kid, and then I still want to play a little bit. And then I did capoeira. A lot of people doesn't know what capoeira mean. Capoeira is kind of mixed about martial arts and dance, really popular in Brazil. And then I did a capoeira for another 2 years, what I love, because you have that dance, it's more like playing, but like it wasn't my passion anyways. And then during that process in the capoeira, we switch academies, and the new academy I end up, they have jiu-jitsu. And that was the first UFC in the same time. It was on 93. Okay. I was 10 years old. I born in 83. I was 10 years old. I saw the first UFC where Royce Gracie destroyed. Remember, it was multiple fights in the same day. If I'm not wrong, he did 3 fights. And then he ended up submit the big sumo guy, a huge guy. I remember there. I said, man, I want to be a ninja like that guy. It was like, kid stuff. And I loved that. And because of that fight, I want to start doing jiu-jitsu. But it was funny because in that time in Brazil was a bad reputation for the jiu-jitsu fighters.
Really?
The way the family Gracie decided to spread the word. That time we don't have social media, right? And then they decide to knock down the the academies, all the martial arts, and fight to prove they are better.
Yeah.
And that they become like they in Brazil they call all the jiu-jitsu fights pitch boys. What that mean? They try to fight on the streets to prove they are better, and that way they start to be famous. And every single younger people wanna do jiu-jitsu. I wanna be a pitch boy,
Yeah.
And my mom was against that, And it was funny because one my uncle friend say, hey, come train jiu-jitsu with me in the same place I do capoeira. And he's really close friend with my uncle and my mom. And then they grew up together. And I told, hey, mom, Mauro asked me if I can train for him jiu-jitsu. And she said, no way. You guys not going to be a pitch boy. I don't want you guys to, become that type person. I want you guys to learn how to defend yourself, know how go beat up people on the street. And then he told him, no, it's fine. Let me talk with her. And he talked with her and she said, no. And he said, I have extra gi. Come training and don't tell anything for her. I said, okay. And then me and my brother start to go to capoeira, and then we start to lie for my mom and say, listen, the capoeira now is 2 hours class. And then we do 1 hour capoeira, and then we stay another extra hour to do jiu-jitsu. It's funny because I was 10 years old, my brother was 11, and we have the judo gis, and then we go with the judo gi was a little bit more thick, the jiu-jitsu gis and burn your neck, but it was cool for maybe a month. Was able to do that without my mom found out, but one day she decided to go watch, and then she get in there, we doing jiu-jitsu, now capoeira. But it was after a month, and the cool thing, she was mad, she put us in timeout, we get a little trouble, but she understand we like, and she make a deal. She was smart in that point. I'm not doing really well in the school. And she said, okay, if you guys want to keep doing jiu-jitsu, you guys need to do better in the school. And then was, okay. And good deal. And say, okay, no problem. We're going to do better in the school. And then for her was the best thing she did because was her tool against me. All the time I do anything wrong, she said, okay, no jiu-jitsu, Yeah. And I said, no, mom, everything but jiu-jitsu, I need to do it. It's crazy. It was like my first love. It's unbelievable. First class, I remember I fell in love so bad. My first class was with Alexei Cruz, my coach. I have 2 coaches my whole life. Was Alexei Cruz and André Almeida de Deco. Alexei Cruz was the first coach. He was a purple belt when he started training.
Wow. And
the Deco was a blue belt. He's instructor helping on the class.
So what are Alexei and Deco now? I mean, 6th and 7th degrees or something?
Yeah, if I'm not wrong, Alexei is 7 degrees, almost 7 degrees.
Yeah.
And the Deco is 6 degrees now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
A purple belt and a blue belt.
Yes,
that's insane.
Yeah. And then they becoming my father, my mentors, and the cool thing, that's the thing I try to do now. I learn from shit they doing to me. And I think it's most important than be a good instructor is be able to teach the kid how to take the passion, how to love the sport, And those 2 guys did that so amazing. It was unbelievable. I remember the first 5 years in my jiu-jitsu career, I never missed 1 class. The first 5 years, nothing, never miss a class. It was and I used to do every day out the class. At that point, we just have 2 classes. I'm always doing 2 classes, And then later, when the deck take it over, because Alexei moved, the deck put 5 classes on the schedule a day. I was there all 5 classes, Young kid, nothing to do.
Yeah.
Decide to stay home, play video game, do nothing. I just go. And it was like I said, for my mom, it was amazing. Okay, you can go for the gym. You got to do your homework before. And then I get
awesome.
back from the school, homework, little nap, go to the academy, stay from 4 o'clock to 9 p.m. every single day, Monday to Saturday, And it was for 5 years like that.
Did the Deco, did they have a kitchen there? I mean, when do you eat?
Yeah, I didn't eat. I just stay on the gym teaching. The Deco teaching all the classes. I was there first helping the little kids class, and then my class, and then training the adults class, beginners class, do everything with him, My goal, it's funny because, nobody told me, but my goal is, I want to be like him. And then I try to copy every single thing they doing,
Yeah.
The way they talk, the way they move, the way they act with the people. And in that point, I didn't have the filter to see what is good, what is bad. And then, but inside the match, they always doing great things, was amazing. And then later on, I start to copy these with other people. Like I met De La Riva from them, and then I say, okay, I want to be like De La Riva as well. That's De La Riva was a name. You're like, oh, that's the God.
Was he already a name back then? I mean, had he already kind of established his
Yes, I didn't know.
special moves?
I was a kid, right?
Yeah,
It's funny
sure.
because everybody called De La Riva God, but De La Riva doesn't call De La Riva God.
What does he
He
call
call pudding God, pudding,
Okay. That's how
because
I
he say
remember
people
Alexi
got
said
too
that.
soft, and like that's why he called pudding God. Okay, guys, you put in the pudding God, and then you do that technique. And I just find out that people call De La Riva God when I moved to USA. That's funny, right? Because
is
there I
funny.
just always say, okay, let's go for pudding God, because that's the way I learn,
Yeah.
And then was really cool, really nice, really nice. And De La Riva is another emerging process. That's why I can tell it's a culture, because De La Riva was super nice. I believe Carson Gracie was the same way. That's the way De La Riva is, And then Alexei and the Deco both is under De La Riva, and they just copy De La Riva. And then now me, and I believe my students gonna try to be like me, and just like try to reproduce the way you learn. I think.
Absolutely. I mean, just kind of a quick little sidebar here. What you just said makes a ton of sense, because the lineage of what we've got going here is something that's really important to me. And I guess 2 years ago or so, whenever the first Origin camp that I went to, obviously Dedeco's a big part of it. And so not this year where you were a huge part of it, but the year before, I was up there by myself. And I heard about it, and I had some time. And so I'm like, look, this is just going to be an amazing opportunity. I'm just going to go up there and train. But I'd only heard you talk about Dedeco and Alexi, and I'd seen videos and stuff like that. And so when we got going up there, first of all, both of those guys are just super humble and normal, right? Like they make you feel really, really comfortable. And you could tell that they're, from everything that I could see, just really good people. So because I'm your student, I really wanted to kind of like connect the dots on my lineage. And I went over there, and I didn't want to make a big deal out of it or anything like that, right? But I saw Dedeco sitting there, and I hadn't introduced myself. And so I waited for him to finish up talking to a student. This is like in the middle of the day on like day 2 or something like that. And I went up and I said, hey, Dedeco. And he's like, yeah, it's my brother. What up? I mean, just super open. And I said, hey, I'm Dave Kroll. I'm one of Formiga's students, and I just wanted to introduce myself and say hi. And I'm really enjoying the game. Man, I didn't finish my sentence, and his whole face lit up. He stands up. He's like, oh my God, you're Formiga's student. No, I can't even tell you how happy I am to hear this. I mean, he totally freaked out and grabbed me, and we went over to his phone. He starts flipping through his photos and stuff like that. He shows me this old photo of you. I think you were like 18 or something like that. You had just gotten you were this little kid, and you're just getting your black belt. I think it's like this like old 90s photo or something, and it really kind of started. There's a lot of other points along the last couple of years that have kind of clicked for me, and have made me see a much bigger picture. But that was 100% one of them right there, because he told me I'm totally underselling the whole thing, because I could tell how important you were to him. And then we took a picture together, and because, I wanted to kind of get a photo with Dedeco, because, I don't know when I'm going to see him again and whatnot. And I sent it over to you. I'm like, hey, look who I'm with. You're like, oh my God, he's amazing. I love this guy. He's like a father. So, when you show up to class on Tuesdays and Thursday nights or something like that, you see a very small part of things, but like that helped me see kind of a connection that went back decades, to people that are actually connected to one another and have a really strong bond. And, as just a student, it made me appreciate that and want to emulate that in the future too. Like, hey, Formiga was my teacher. Dedeco was his teacher. I got the chance to meet those guys. I know how they are as humans, so that's super cool.
That's great. Yeah, Dedeco definitely is something different. Like, Alexei was a big part of my life for maybe 3 years, and then he moved back for his stage. And then after that, Dedeco take it over. And that point, Dedeco is already maybe purple belt or brown belt already.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then for me, it was in that point in Brazil in 90s, like 93, we don't have many black belts. I remember clear in my mind, my first row with a black belt was Ricardo Liborio, who is always in the camp too, right?
Wow, that's crazy.
And Liborio was the god in that time, like the best competitor. The best competitor in that time.
Really?
Like Boucher now, or maybe Roger Gracie, like all those guys. And then he come. It's so funny because like he was a high level black belt and coming to the gym. to train with the Deco, who is a purple belt, but well knowledge by amazing guard, and nobody could pass his guard. And because a big competition coming, people start to show up in the gym. Was a small gym with nobody, no students, because they just show up in the academy. And then people start to come in the gym for training because people want to be ready for competition. And those black belts come train with my coach. I was, oh man, look at those guys. They come train with my coach. My coach is a superhero, you know, like when I was a kid.
100%.
Yeah. And then
that's how people feel now.
And I was like, Deco, please, let me go with Libody. Let me go with Libody. And he say, okay, let him finish training. And if he wanna, he go with you. And Libody rolled for me. I'm not joking. I still remember that roll. Because of Libody, I'm doing the fly sweep transition for armbar.
Really?
Libody maybe did that sweep on me maybe 45 times in 2 minutes. We rolled for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and he flew me like 40 times. And then that day, I started to do every single day that sweep and becoming my best motion. Just because Libody did on me.
That is awesome.
It was cool. And he didn't teach me anything. I just figured out when the deck would like little by little, like I just this grip here, I just step foot over here, and little by little I understand how to do it, and then becoming really cool. Yeah.
There's a lot of moves seem to be that way, you know, where somebody kind of plants a seed, you know, but like a lot of people think that you just learn a move. I mean, a move could take, I know for me anyway, it takes years. You got to be ready for it. Number one. I mean,
everybody needs to like understand the whole conception, not just the grip or just the position. You got to understand timing wise. Okay, how do I make the guy move? And there's a lot of stuff behind there people doesn't see.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's cool that he's the one that planted the seed, and then, you know, you got an amazing coach around you that can kind of help it germinate, I guess. So I've heard a couple people say this. Like I've heard there's a documentary called Roll that's on YouTube, and I mean it's about kind of like California jiu-jitsu. And one of the early 90s American black belts had made a comment that when UFC started, he said he felt a little bit sad because he said that, you know what, I know now that everybody's going to know about this. And like kind of the mystery goes away because it's like a superpower. I mean, if nobody knows, and I can only imagine then, I mean, people don't know what this is. And so like watching Hoist in UFC 1, you're like, you know, like it's a triangle, you know, and now it's just, you got a kid that's like, oh, he's putting a triangle, look at him, he's got his, I mean, they're like doing a play-by-play, but then nobody knows. What was it like in Brazil? Was it similar, or did you know that this is about to?
Yeah, like we don't have that feeling. Be honest, I think I didn't have any feeling. I just see what people say. Like they really want to spray. They want to prove jiu-jitsu is the best martial art in the world, you know.
Yeah. And
that's the whole goal for everybody in jiu-jitsu, you know. People just jumping on the Gracie family mentality and say, okay, let's spray the watch. But the thing you're talking about, the mystery, I remember why Carson Gracie becomes so big, because Carson Gracie was the first Gracie family person who show every single technique for the people who is not in the family. You know?
Really?
Yeah, that's maybe I'm telling wrong. We can talk with like the old guys like Libori and the Deco, who was really part of that time. But what I hear from them, Helio Gracie, he teach a lot for his students, but he still has the secret moves, the best moves for his kids. You know, just my kids gonna know that, you know. And then Carson Gracie wasn't that way. Carson Gracie was, everything do I know, I'm gonna share with my students.
Really?
And that's why they become the first big team in the world. Like what Gracie Barra is now, like the huge team Atos, those big teams, you know, Checkmatch, all those teams. That was Carson Gracie in the past, because like everybody want to train for him because he's the only one who is really tell everybody everything he knows, and his students become like superheroes and destroy everybody. Always like, oh, I'm fighting Carson Gracie, I'm gonna lose. You know, everybody's already knew that. It's really cool, and because that fact, I believe they're open mind for all the Gracie family and say, you know what, if you don't start to share there, we're not gonna have students. We need to do it the same in their way. Becoming much better for everybody, right? Jiu-jitsu grow, people start to invent more techniques and more positions and become what we have now.
Yeah, it's I guess you're forced into creativity, and I can only imagine. I mean, and now, of course, I mean, if you want to get any information, you can get it within seconds.
Yep.
You know, or you could find out somebody who would actually know it. But I mean, it wasn't. I mean, in the 90s. well, we act like that's a long time ago. I mean, for you and I, we grew up
yeah.
in, but I mean, the world was a smaller place, or the world was a much bigger place. Sorry. And so, yeah, I can see information hoarding kind of being somewhat of an issue.
And also nobody able to see, like, nobody recording fights.
Yeah.
Like, you have
iPhone
one chance.
now,
You gotta
yeah.
look the fight and figure out how to do the move.
Oh,
Just
my God.
watching what the guy's doing. No, like, oh, let me replace it. Let me see again. Let me, like, no, you don't have that time, was cool. Like, that's the way I grew up. Like, doesn't have YouTube. Like, I wanna learn. I need to go for that competition. I'm gonna be able to see Tereri, whatever big name, Leo Vieira, Marcelo Garcia competing. That way I can see what they're doing, what kind of grip, what technique, That was really cool. I mean, it's easy now, but it was cool in that time,
Would you guys take like VHS tape and deconstruct it or anything?
Yeah,
Would you really?
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
In the back of the day, has a guy really famous in Brazil who is recording all the fights. He's like Flow Grappling.
Okay.
In the back of the day, his name is Paquetá. He died a couple years ago. He's an old man, super nice. He recording all the single match. And if you want to buy the tape after, he sell
cool.
for you.
That's a good idea.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, the modern day Flow Grappling.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm talking about, I was 11 years old the first time I saw the guy recording. We're talking about long time ago,
Yeah.
He was my visionary, like, yeah.
That is part of like when I first started training jiu-jitsu, that's kind of what got me into it, because I got introduced to it in the military. And so and I'm going to completely mess up the time and all of this other stuff, and I don't even know if it's still current, but the Marine Corps started this thing called the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program. And it doesn't do jiu-jitsu justice at all. Like, it's bad. Right? But it's also not totally applicable, right?
Okay.
And they could have evolved it. This was very, very early on. But the fact that they were open-minded and started this was really cool. But like, so basic things like some basic arm bars, rear naked choke, concept of the guard and stuff. And when this would have been like in 2002, I think, something like that.
It's funny about 2002. I wear the black belt in that year.
Were you really? That was the year that you got your
my
black belt?
Yeah,
that's all. I was gonna ask you. But we used some VHS tapes from, like, the guy. It was just another young Marine. I thought he was like an old man, but he was probably like 25, And he had UFC 1. We watched some old Pride tapes and K1 tapes and stuff from Japan, and it was like, rewind, play it, and just to kind of explain like really, really basic stuff. Like, this is what he's doing. Look at how he's opening this up. It's and now if you teach a move in class, there's like 7 cell phones.
Exactly.
I mean, or in like camp.
Yep.
We've talked about this before, where everybody's got their phone and you want to know some details of what Rodrigo said or what Formiga said, like, you just go back to your room later and you study it, and people do. And so different, man. I wonder what it would have been like. So you got your black belt at 18?
19. 2002. Yeah.
So the picture I saw from the deco was when you were 19.
Yeah, 19 years old.
That's crazy. Yeah, you had this, I think it was your black belt. Your belt looked yellow. I mean, it was probably a white. Did you have any other belts other than? Did you go white to black, or did you guys have colors?
I went to white to black belt, but I was a kid. I was white belt, yellow belt. In that time, we don't have a gray belt. It was white to yellow to orange, orange to green, and then blue, purple, brown, and black.
Okay, that's cool. So basically,
yeah, just add those 3 belts: yellow, orange, and green. That's we have in the back for kids in that time. Before below 16 years old. Yeah,
below 16.
Yeah,
there's plenty of 16-year-olds that I know that I wish had more colors. You know what I mean? Like purple.
And the fun time, like, we don't have that many people, right? And I go for competitions as a kid. Yellow belt, I used to have 5, but when I got my green belt, nobody's a green belt. It was me and maybe 5 other guys in my state in the same time as a green belt.
Yeah.
And then we end up never fighting. And my coach, the Deco, said, you know what? Start to compete as a blue belt. And I was 14 when he gave me my blue belt.
Really?
And then I competed from 14 to 15 and a half as a blue belt. And then he gave me a purple belt, and then start to compete. In the back of the day, they don't have the restriction like kids cannot compete as adult. I competed as a teen, like 16 years old, and adult when I was 14. You know?
Gotcha.
Yeah, my first competition in adult division when I got a third place was when I was 14 years old. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, the first of many. I'm sure that one of those medals is hanging up somewhere on the big wall with medals, hundreds of medals. So, obviously, everybody grows up. You spent it sounds like 10 years or so with the Deco, worked towards your black belt. We know you train 5 times a day. If he let you train 5 times a day, were you teaching classes or?
Yes, the Deco put me to be his instructor
Okay.
when I was 14. That point when I got my blue belt, he would say, okay, I need you in the school. I was there anyways, and he said, you're going to be my helper, just helping, no money involved, just like he letting me training for free to help him.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. And the Deco always take care about me. Like, I remember everybody, all the time he got a new sponsor, he put him in the same sponsorship. Was it's like, okay, look like he make a deal. I don't know if he does that way, but he look like he'll like, okay, you want to sponsor me? Cool, but you need to sponsor my little boy too.
That's
because
awesome.
every single sponsor he put him in the semi one.
That's cool. That's another example. I mean, I see you mentoring other people as well that have come up. You've brought people up from Brazil and are taking them under your wing too. So I mean, it's cool that kind of continues. Did you ever start like another career field or anything, or was it basically just jiu-jitsu is it for me?
No, I think in the back that they really big, you force your kids to have a degree, right?
Yeah.
And my mommy was that way. She said,
never know.
You can do jiu-jitsu, do whatever you want, but you need to do a college, finish the school and do college. And then she forced me, because I really doesn't want to be honest. The day I start jiu-jitsu, I say I want to quit everything just to jiu-jitsu. And she's smart. She said, no, you need to finish the school, have a degree in get a college, that way. And I did physical education.
Okay.
And I got a degree in physical education. And I work as a personal training in the gym, for maybe, I would say 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah, cool. And just did jiu-jitsu and
jiu-jitsu. During the day, personal training was a hard time. Like to make money in Brazil with jiu-jitsu is not easy.
Yeah.
And I used to be a personal trainer from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And 7 p.m. put my gear on and start teaching classes.
Really?
I teach from 7 to 10. That was my life in Brazil. Like we would get in the gym 7 a.m. and leave 10 p.m. every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously we've got, there's a bunch of gaps and stuff like that, but like, what was the driver to come to the States? I mean, at some point,
I always thought about leave by just teaching jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But be honest, it's too hard in Brazil now. In the back today, even harder.
Just competitive
people doesn't pay the money. That like was
like that in Japan too.
Yeah, it's like
big money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we can. I remember that Deco used to have like almost 300 students in Brazil,
and
he still need to have a second job because he doesn't make enough money to survive.
Yeah, it's true passion.
Like tattoo now, he has, I believe, more than 300, and he doesn't make the same money I make here, like because in Brazil is not that value, like people doesn't pay that much.
And he's an amazing.
Yes,
I mean, he's your main partner, right?
Yes, my brother, like we grow up together. We know each other since like 15 years old and grow up in the same passion. We share the same vision, same life, everything, And then like it's different in Brazil. And then in 2008, my wife's mom died, and then that was the thing what make us me to take the decision that day. I was in here to compete in. I was Pan Ams, if I'm not wrong. I was here competing for Pan Ams.
Down in Florida.
In Florida, no, I was in California that
California?
time. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the day after, she called me. Like after my first, in that point, Pan Ams was 2 days until semifinals. You go Saturdays and Sunday you do the semifinal and final. And then one of those days she called me and say, "Oh, I have bad news. My mom just passed out." And then like I'm really sad because in that point I used to live with her because her mom has a disease, and as she going down, she stopped walking, and I tried to help her with like at her home, try to help, and she always needs somebody to take care about her, and it was between me, my wife, and her brother and his wife helping her all day, and then it was super sad, and we live in the house, and then after she died, my wife say, "I don't want to live here anymore because everything I see bring me the memories,
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, cool. What do you want to do? You want to sell the house and talk with your brother, sell the house, and we can go live in another place?" I said, "No, I'm thinking about why we don't move it to U.S." And it was a good timing because I was there, and that day I was supposed to teach a seminar at night or the next day, I don't remember exactly. And then that day, one guy coming to the seminar and say, hey, listen, I have an opportunity. Do you want to move to here? I say, yeah, let's talk about. And then, but I didn't speak any English.
This is California?
That was in Connecticut.
This is Connecticut,
yeah, because
okay.
I go from California. I used to have a friend in Connecticut who was Luigi, the guy who is like, was my connection, you know.
Okay,
and
he's
all
Brazilian guy?
Yeah, he's Brazilian.
Okay.
And all the time when I come to competing, I stay in his house. I go for Connecticut, stay in his house for a couple of days, teach a seminar, few private lessons to make the money to pay the trip. And then go to California competing, go back to his house, teach more privates, more seminar, work a little bit, and go back home. And there was, on that time, I was on his academy, won the seminar on his academy. Some guy coming, his name is Matt Bryans, you know. That guy was my main guy in US, the guy who's helping me more, you know. He trusted me. He did some stuff with me. I will definitely not do with somebody who I don't know, you know. I don't know if you guys don't know about like it, but for get like the visa, special visa, like work visa here, you need to have somebody to sponsor you.
Yeah.
And that guy who doesn't know me, he say, I can sign any paper for you, I don't care. But if he, for example, I drive a car and kill somebody, he will be in charge for that because he's my sponsor. He's like my father in US, you know?
Right.
And he signed the paper without know me. And like,
was he connected to Luigi? Or?
Yeah, he was a Luigi friend,
Okay.
you know, won the affiliation, the Luigi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he doesn't know me and he doesn't know Luigi that well as, you know, like it was like crazy. And
That's jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Lucky for him, I was a good person. Lucky for me, I have
totally.
him, you know.
He got lucky and made the right call.
Yeah, exactly. Luck for me, I have him behind because he like, I need your money to buy a car. He's like, I bought you the money, you know, like everything. Because when you move to here, you have nothing. And when I move, I have really nothing. Like, you know, I didn't bring any money, you know. But
what did Elisa say? I mean, was she like, yeah, let's get out of here?
Or, she said like, can you try to find something to us to move to US? I said, cool.
I mean, it's not like it's next door. I mean, it's a huge move.
And it's funny because
we're in the U.S. now, so it seems really normal. But I mean, if somebody came in and said, "Hey, look, you know, there's been an event, and I want to make a move," like I can't even imagine saying, "I'm going to go to Brazil. I can't speak Portuguese. I don't know anybody there. I don't even know the rules." You know.
And it was just like that. And be honest, like it was super scary. I want to do that step a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't have the courage to just like, okay, let's do it, you know?
That's
and
the
when
right
coming
word,
from her, like, say, wow, nice, let's do it, you know?
A life event
like,
pushed you there.
And that's a good thing about Elisa. She always pushed me in my dreams.
That's
you know?
awesome.
And she believed more in me than I believe in myself. You know, it's cool. Like, I remember.
Well, we know she's your biggest fan. We were talking about her at a competition.
Yes,
I mean, don't get in the way.
No. And I remember like when I decided to move from Connecticut was another big change, right? I was established in Connecticut, teaching 4 academies, big association, and then I'm not happy in Connecticut because the weather, you know, I couldn't take the weather.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
I couldn't handle it.
I was depressing every winter. Every winter, we lived there for 7 years. The first 2 years was okay, cool. Oh, we can see snow.
Yeah.
But after 2 years, you say, man, I hate that weather. And
You're from Brazil, man. Yeah. I mean, Connecticut and Brazilians, it's not a good match.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like it.
And then like every year, like we're talking about moving back to Brazil, and I say, I don't want to move back to Brazil and lose everything we just building here. You know, my first son born in Connecticut, you know, like in that point I say, we need to figure out some place. And for all the 5 years, right, I was looking to moving.
Yeah.
You know, every single seminar I teach in some academy, I talk with the owner to say, hey, you want a new coach? You know, like it's cool. Funny. Yeah. And I almost moved 2 times for California. But it didn't end up in the way I want. And then we decided to stay. And finally, we decided to move to Texas. And there was a good call. And the time I said for her, okay, let's move, she said, that's what you want? Okay, let's do it. We're going to make that happen. You know, it was cool. Because
that's awesome.
Another thing, like if she say, I don't know, I will probably stay in Connecticut until now. You know?
Yeah, you got to get it's got a gut feel. For me, a lot of that is. Was there a seminar here or something you taught or what? I mean,
was to one of my partners before I won a double 5. I was the co-founder from Soul Fighters. Right? Okay. And one of my partners from here, Bruno Tanque, you know, and then we have 2 camps here for one big competition.
Okay.
And I think it was Pan Amazon was in the same year we have 2 camps. And the same year I come to here because I start to be sponsored by Gamenes. And then gamers give me, the game is from here, right? They have the headquarters here. And then Chris, the guy who is owner, starts to say, why you don't move to here? And they just plant the idea, you know, and he started to talk about the economy, how good it is, the government, you know. I say, man, sounds good. And then he asked me if I want to take care. He has a crazy idea to open a facility called Pro Gym.
Okay.
And then he said, okay, move it to Texas, and I can put you to teach in the Pro Gym, and I'm going to give you a good salary just to start. And then you have 1 or 2 years to thinking about open academy or whatever you want to do it. And then after you open academy, I can put another person to teach here, you know. And that was what we did, you know. He offered me a money, a contract, and then said, okay, let's do it. And then move teaching there for 1.5 years, and then finding my location, decide to open the academy. The day I opened the academy, I stopped teaching the place. And that was a really good help. And that was the
nice on-ramp.
The step I need, right? Okay, that's exactly what I need. Let's do it. And
that's awesome. Good. It's amazing how those little, just little steps along the way. I mean, everybody sees kind of where you're at right now, you know, but nobody knows, you know, all of the chances that you had to take along the way. I mean, the courage to move to the U.S., obviously, having to have all the support behind you and then move into this, to a whole different section of the country. When I talk to people, you know, obviously, like I do a lot of work in different parts of the world, and when I talk to people in Asia or in Europe, and I might be mischaracterizing it, this is just my experience, but like people are always interested in the US, how portable people are. Like my family, we've moved a million times. We've moved in, you know, cause work, you know, stuff happens, opportunities, whatnot, you know, and, you know, in the States, you can just like, oh, there's something in Texas. Like I'm going to move to Texas. You know, it's totally different. Connecticut and Texas are not similar at all. Yeah. The people are a little different. The weather obviously is totally different. So, but when it's interesting, and I'm not surprised to hear it at all that you said how important your wife is and all that, because I can see it too. Like, you know, we talked about her at the competition. I mean, she's your biggest fan. I mean, if you get in the way of Elisa, man, you are going to be you're going to be in trouble. And for me too, when I got my brown belt from you, the first person I wanted to talk to was my wife. Like I couldn't wait to go out into the truck and text her, because she's such a big support system behind the scenes, man. And, you know, and that's kind of what keeps us going. So was there anything, I mean, Highland Village is kind of a random place, you know, and 10 years ago, it was a random place. Now it's obviously just Dallas, but I mean, what was it? What brought you guys here?
It was luck, because we have a short time to do the transition, right? Yeah. And we want to make sure we have a good school for my kids, right? In that point, I already have 2 kids, and my main thing, like, okay, whatever is good for my family, I will do it. And then what we did, I have a friend here who was a brown belt in that time, and now he's a black belt half. He's a realtor on the tank. Okay. And then I reached half and say, hey man, I'm moving to Texas. Can you help me to find a house? I want that much price. I have that much money to pay. But I just can go one day to Texas to see the house. And he lined up. Whole different state. Yeah, he lined up 22 houses to us to see one day.
That's a big day.
And then he picked us in the airport, and then we drive it for 22 houses all over.
Oh
we
my
go
God.
Keller.
That's my worst nightmare.
We go Highland Village. Every single place where the school district is above 8 points. You know, we go online and we look those houses, and they we like more, and we could pay for their house. It was in Highland Village, you know, and that was the reason. And I told my wife, let's find a house, and then after we find a house, I will open the academy. Yeah. I didn't look at all. Like, I didn't know if Highland Village has jiu-jitsu. I didn't know anything. The only reason was I moved to Highland Village was the school, you know. And that's
well, you picked a good one.
Yeah, I got a good one.
You picked a good one.
The notes in that stand, you know, was really good. And also we got the house we like, and there was the 2 main points. And after I find everything, I start to look location. Taking me 2 years to finally find my location.
That's awesome. It's so random how stuff kind of pans out, because even how I found you, like I came to Double Five after COVID, and like we had moved a couple times. We moved from South Florida to Texas, and I was working over in Dallas and training in Dallas, and then I moved to Reno, and then to Austin, and then COVID hit, you know. And JB, obviously. I
Yeah.
think you're number one recruiter.
Number one, no doubt. He's the guy. I think I get a more business from him than Google, Instagram, Facebook, whatever.
Well, believe me, it's a reciprocal, because every time I'm in his office, there's like 3 other double five guys there getting their
True.
ribs fixed or their whatever, fix or pick your ailment. But he did a Toys for Tots event, and Malcolm and I went and brought a bunch of toys to donate and stuff like that. And I saw JB. I hadn't seen him since COVID, and so we talked, and he's like, "Where are you training?" And I said, "Man, I just kind of got back into it. What about you?" He goes, "Double five." He goes, "We're all there. It's down the street." And I remember when you opened up, but life is just full of different little chances.
Yeah.
What you mentioned, you were one of the co-founders of Soul Fighters. What changed, and you started Double Five, and I know Tattoo is your partner, and I mean, how did that stuff take place?
It's funny because when we opened Soul Fighters, we created Soul Fighters was 2006. Okay, my coach, Dedeco.
You're in Connecticut at this time?
No, I was in Brazil.
You're in Brazil?
Yeah.
Okay.
I moved to Connecticut 2010.
Okay.
And then I was in Brazil, finished doing my college. That point, when you got a black belt, you one point you hit a plateau and say, "Man, I'm not getting better. I don't win anything. I'm thinking about quick jiu-jitsu, start something." It was that year for me. 2005 and 2006 was 2005 was a good year, but 2006 I started to lose a lot. I tried to go from lightweight to middleweight. It was a bad call in that time. And then I started to lose all the competition. I'm doing well, And then I say, "Man, I don't know what to do." And then I start to go more for focus on be personal training, make more money than just follow a dream,
Yeah.
And then what happened, I just decided, okay, I need to figure out what I'm doing. And then in that point was, I don't know if it was the first AGCC or one the first is the AGCC, And I have that guy, his name is Tanquinho, his nickname is Tanquinho, his name is Augusto. He's he's studying physical education in the same college, and we know each other because both is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And then we start to talk a little bit more often, and say, "Man, can you guys help me? I need to compete on the AGCC trial, and then I don't have many people for training." And then we start to train together, me, him, and Tattoo. And then he bought his brother Tank. And then we start to train a lot. And that point, the Deco moved to US. And then I see myself with our coach, and don't know how to do it because it was hard. Like for my whole life, I have that guy sit down in the corner. And be honest, the Deco doesn't need to say one word when he coached me. I just need to look at him. He give me a superpower just to be sit down in the place,
I'm sure.
Like he doesn't need to say nothing. Just to be here, just the face. I say, okay, I'm going to win. He's here,
Yeah.
And then... And it's funny because the Deco has a way he call me. He do a whistle really loud, and sometimes he running late. And I wait on the match. He's upstairs on the stairs, and he just whistle to me. I say, "Oh, he's here finally. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
now I'm gonna win." And
that's
now,
awesome.
I have
that comfort.
that comfort with him. Like he'll really make me comfortable. And then in that point, the Deco left. I say, "Okay, I don't know what to do now. What am I doing?" And then Tanquinho and Tank start to have a problem on his academy because they are small group competitors, and they want to be more competitors. And then we start to train a lot together, a lot. And then when Álvaro Mansur, Tank and Tanquinho coach, decide to leave the team, Kyoto, they are part from Kyoto BJJ that time, and I was Brazilian top team. And then we start to also have a problem. Brazilian top team used to have amazing noon class. Amazing.
Sounds like Island Village.
Yeah, like no joke. Almost 200 people on the match.
Wow,
it's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's kind of chaos.
Yeah, but in that year, Brazilian top team start to become huge on MMA. Minotauro,
Okay.
all those guys competitors.
I see.
And for some reason, Minotauro need to change his schedule. And he was the head guy, the main guy, And the only time Minotauro could train was noon. And what happened, they canceled the jiu-jitsu class at noon, and that became an MMA fight. And they passed the class for 4 o'clock, was the time I was teaching, And that messed up my whole schedule, and I could change. And then I see myself without partners for training, and then train with people from other academies all the time. And then Álvaro Mansur decided to left. And when we sit down together one day and talk, why we don't just create a new team? We never have okay, we're going to create a new team to become the big one in the world, best in the world. No, it was just okay, that way going to be easy. We can sign out the documents, And then we decided to create the soul fighters. It was cool because we make like, okay, let's tell the students to each person bring one name, and then we bring the names. We vote. We was 5 owners, right? It was me, Álvaro Mansur, Bruno Tanque, Augusto Tanquinho, and Leandro Tatu, right? And then we vote for the numbers. We have like 100 names, and then we pick 5, and each one choose one. And then we choose the soul fighter's name. It was from one.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And also the funny was the Deco brother, youngest brother, brought their name. His name is Cristiano.
Okay.
He was the person who's bring the name, and
really?
It was really cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because it was
it's English. You're in Brazil,
yeah.
You know.
And it was the whole idea, like you want to keep the soul from jiu-jitsu, you know. And then we thought like, in that point, people start to stop training jiu-jitsu just do MMA. Now it's changed, but in that point it was every single people when they reach a brown belt, quick jiu-jitsu and just focus on MMA.
Really?
You know?
Just the popularity was taken off at that time.
We want to do the opposite way. We want to keep making jiu-jitsu bigger, you know, and the goal for those 5 guys was like, let's forget about MMA. We're just going to do jiu-jitsu. And then it was amazing. And that's why we start. And then it was really cool for a lot of time, you know, and then 3 years ago, 2019, we decide to, me and Tatu, we see ourselves going different direction than Tanquinho, Álvaro, you know. Tanquinho, Álvaro want to grow association, more focus on the association. Me and Tatu, we still looking for be a competitors and bring more competitor for the team. And then just conflict the ideas, you know. And then we sit down one day together and say, listen, guys, let's split. You guys can keep the name. We're going to just go the other directions. No big deal. We're still friendly. Like, if you see, like, when you go for competition, we all hang together.
100%.
You know, no big deal. We don't have any problem, you know. What's cool.
You put like a press release out too. I mean, basically a very professional, because people talk and make up stories that actually aren't true, you know.
And definitely was hard to leave, be honest. Like,
13 years.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a lot. That's a chunk of your life, you know.
Yeah, but it was good. I'm happy with the decision. You know, they so far they're still doing amazing. We're doing good. Like, we're growing fast. I think that was the best decision. Yeah.
So did you and Tatu start Double Five? I mean, you're the founders?
Was me and Tatu and João Gabriel.
Okay,
Was the main black belt we have at that time. Yeah. We 3 take the decision to go together the academy. And then, unfortunately, João decided to leave the team, and then he's not part anymore. Now it's just me and Tatu. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to meet Tatu. He's come up a couple times. I think he came up to compete, and then obviously he did a couple seminars in the area and whatnot, and just an amazing guy.
Yep.
You know, and I know he's Henrico's bigger brother and whatnot, which is kind of funny, you know, because it just changes the dynamic having Henrico around his big brother and everything. So Tatu he's basically running things down in Brazil, and you're running things here in the United States. That's awesome. That's super cool. Switching gears a little bit and just talking about your experience with students. You have hundreds of students that come through. I've been around you when you've taught hundreds of other students. I mean, I think we had 500 people that were at the immersion camp in Maine, and I mean, you were one of the stars of the show. So you've obviously got a pretty unique perspective when it comes to, like, you know, a new white belt that walks into the school. What advice do you have for someone? I mean, it's all shapes and sizes. I mean, a white belt comes into school. They might be a college wrestler. They might be a college football player. We have a couple that are like that, or they might be, you know, a 30 or 40-year-old guy that, you know, can't tie his shoes. I mean, it's everybody. There's a wide spectrum. So, I mean, how do you handle that, and what advice do you have?
It's funny. Like, advice for people: go try. You know, that's my advice. Everybody has like, I'm not good shape. Oh, that's not for me. Like, you never know if you not try. You know, like we have, you know, like all type person: small, big, fat, skinny. You know, we have all type people.
Full spectrum.
You know, and all the guy who is doing with you, they love, right? And then I think that's like. The only way you will know if you try. And the thing is, like, don't expect too much from the first class. Like, I think people think, my first class, I'm going to get in there and do the whole class and destroy everybody. And it doesn't work like that, right? You don't know. You're probably going to guys out. You're probably going to die in the class, you know.
You might throw up.
You know, like, we're doing, like, now it's much better because we become smart the way the process for teaching, right? Carson Gracie, Helio Gracie, those guys, figure out the way, and they pass to us, and then we try to make it a little better. And from years and years, we try to adjust and little adjustments to make it better and better and better. And now, the way it is in most academies is we have a beginners program. We're helping a lot. I remember the first day I trained jiu-jitsu. Alexei showed me 2 techniques in the corner and said, okay, now go training. I said,
were you guys sparring?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like sparring right after. I say, what did that mean? I say, just try to do what you see now on the class. I say, whoa, that's hard,
Yeah.
But they don't have that. Now we have the class. It's special for people who doesn't know.
Yeah.
What I believe make it much easier. Like we're not gonna have people throw up in the match in the first class.
Yeah,
we're not gonna have people hurt yourself in the first day.
Yeah.
And that's like we start to realize, be more professional, bring in more people.
Yeah.
People start to like jiu-jitsu more, and then they're gonna take a long term and stay in jiu-jitsu for a long time.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, if I'm not wrong, people get injured because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's hard to see a higher belt get an injury, Of course, they happen, but it's much easier to see a lower belt because they roll in the wrong way. They try to do something.
Their arm,
exactly.
something stupid. Something not stupid, but something that makes sense and you don't know.
Yes.
But yeah.
And that's why, I think the thing most important, to try to bring people to the gym. Go try, Don't be scary. People gonna be super friendly. My suggestion, ask for people who is already doing. Do you know? What idea? I think it's important you go for a okay academy at least. If it doesn't have a good academy, try to go. We still have some crazy guys who is like MMA style. You jump in the gym, they want to kill you to prove they better.
Yeah.
What a really dumb idea for their coach to do that way, and they can hurt you in the first day, and you never come back.
That's a terrible business move too. It's a student, right?
Yes. My main goal now is make sure my students learn it really well, but they don't get injured in the first year or two.
Yeah.
Because if they avoid the injury in the first year or two, they're gonna fall in love like I did.
Yeah.
And after that, if I get injured today, I'm not thinking about how I'm gonna fix the injury. I'm thinking about how long I'm gonna be off the match, what I need to do to get it back fast. That's my first.
I'm with you.
Exactly, right?
100%.
And that just tell how we love this. You know, it's crazy. I'm not thinking about anything. Oh, I hurt my foot. Should I break my foot? No. Man, I think I'm going to be 2 weeks off the training, man. I have that competition coming. I can be 2 weeks off training, And after, say, maybe I broke the leg. I would think something like that, but it's crazy,
Eventually you do get to that point, and I'm this is just my perspective, but I hurt myself in Maine, right? I fell drilling, stupid move, nothing violent, nothing exciting. I wish there was a better story. I literally just fell wrong onto my shoulder and sprained it, and little separation in the AC joint. We knew it right away, and I've done it long enough where I knew immediately, I need to choose how I'm going to think about this right now, right? I can be super upset and quit and be mad, because I'm not, but no, okay, well, here's a new, I'm how long is this going to take, because quitting jiu-jitsu is just not even on the table, and so I'm stuck here. I might as well enjoy it. I might as well get something productive out of it. But yeah, if you're in your first year, or so, and you're a white belt, you could easily kind of come to the conclusion that, what, I got hurt. I knew it. My wife was right. This wasn't for me, and I know that, the way that you'll run the beginners class. There's not even really live sparring. it's very positional.
Yes.
And maybe if you're a white belt, or maybe if you're kind of in the middle of the battle and the class, they don't see this. But I see that you're very deliberate about when people do come to the advanced class and spar, you're pairing them up with people that are going to, you're not going to put them with the 25-year-old Division I wrestler that's getting ready for pans, so that he can try his new favorite move,
100%. And I think that's the one thing really important I learned from that that's the legend Carson Gracie does, Pair your students is important. I know I can read you guys just to look your face, I know if you're tired, I know if you're in good day, I know if you're in bad day, and that's gonna count for me who is gonna train you, okay, David is not good day today, he roll with another brown belt and he got a beat up already. why I'm gonna put David with a fresh purple belt young guy to beating him up too, and maybe you're gonna get oh man, I don't deserve my brown belt. That everybody has that mentality sometimes.
100%. It creeps in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those days when I read that from you, I say, you know what? I'm gonna help Dave. I'm gonna put him to training, but I'm gonna give you some easy rounds. That way, if it's a bad day, everybody has the bad days, but he's gonna be okay because I'm not giving him like crazy good level guys. And I really try to read that on my students. And I believe that prep people up is really important for that. Some academies they don't do it. And also what happens when they don't do it, they happy that I don't like that guy too much. I'm not training with him.
Yeah.
And sometimes the big guys is the problem, right? Nobody want to go with a 300 pounds guy, you know?
Right.
And then sometimes that 300 pound guys will be in the corner for whole training because nobody want to go with him.
Or they're self-conscious.
Exactly.
They're like, oh man, and I don't, that's all small guys. I'm just going to sit and stretch.
Yes,
right. It's not good for anybody.
And then I think that's a really important too, and I believe that beginners class, you start to work really well because we do there we call live drill. It's pretty much a specific training, right? Whatever technique you work on that day, we're going to drill the technique live. I'm going to put the guy with all the grips he's supposed to have, and he's going to have a little experience of what the real jiu-jitsu will be, right? Okay, that's the strength I need to do. Oh, that's what I need to think. Not just see and sweep the guy and say, oh, that's so easy. I swept the guy like nothing.
No, it's totally different.
Exactly. When the other guy try to apply, okay, you're not going to sweep a little resistance. They say, oh, that's what that means, and they start to enjoy more and see there, that's really cool.
It's so fun when you watch a guy that has when a technique kind of clicks, and I mean, I'm sure you've seen it a million times, and it's just the basic stuff too, like a scissor sweep, oh wow, that actually, I pulled it off in sparring, you won't believe this, because it is so hard to do. If you're, when you're doing the live drilling, people say that, hey, I know that I can only do a scissor sweep, and I know that you can only do a scissor sweep, and it's hard to do it. And so when it finally kind of becomes clear and you pull it off, I mean, you really just get this. That's what sort of makes people addicted to the. If I was a, and look, I was when I first started, I started down in South Florida, and I started at Papa Popovich's gym at BJJ Center, I think is what it was called. And the night that I came to sign up, it was the beginner class, thank God. And I remember there was a couple white belts in there. It was kind of the same setup. I mean, there might have been some color belts in there, but it was positional sparring only. And so I joined and I did my class, and I'm like, okay, this is really cool. The next night, the schedule was the beginner's class started after the advanced no-gi class. And I walked in to the no-gi guys going crazy, basically. And man, I remember being super intimidated. I hate to admit it, but honestly I was. And if I was a brand new white belt walking in right now, if you walk in on our evening class after a big round with some of the guys that we've got at 6:30 or 6:15, that could be a tough.
And that's why I say, I think the hard part for every single new student is a step on the gym. The first step on the gym is the hard part. That's why I tell my wife who work on the front desk for in my gym, or if she's not there, whatever person who is helping me on the front desk, that's the most important time. We need to make that people really comfortable, really welcome. I believe that's the best way. That's why we have a little setup already. My wife say hi, how can I help you, whatever, and then soon she finished there, let me introduce for the coach, because I believe the guy talk with the coach, if the coach is really welcoming, open to conversation, that make the guy feel a little bit more calm, and oh, that's cool, the guy was super nice, he was she walked literally she introduced herself and say, let me introduce you for the coach. And then she come to me or Rodrigo, and then me and Rodrigo job is make that guy fine. Hey man, how you doing? How can I help you? Do you ever did jiu-jitsu before? No big deal. I'm gonna teach you from day one. I will be the person who's gonna help you. You're gonna try today or tomorrow? What's the day you're coming? That's the class, that's the match. Pretty much that's the people. And I try to ask for my guys in the gym to be always super friendly as well,
right.
you know, because I want people to say, oh, not just the coach, that's the whole environment, the gym, people super friendly, you know, and that's important. And I believe we getting the point now. I don't say anything for you guys. You guys are already doing.
You just know it's the role.
Without me, you know, like you guys just like, okay, that way with me work well, I'm gonna pass through, you know.
It's how we feel too. I mean, like if you're a color belt and you come in and you start, like I was a purple belt when I started at your gym, I needed to feel welcome too.
Yeah,
you know?
I
don't want to feel like I'm, you know, got something to prove or somebody's got their eyes on me or something, you know.
The thing I like to use a perfect example is like, just think about that. That's cool. I met Rodrigo, my main partner training now, and my helper, my academy, the other professor we have, the other black belt, the main coach of my academy.
Yeah.
He was 5 years old.
Rodrigo was 5
years
old.
Yes.
Is Tattoo your age?
Tattoo is 2 years older than me.
Okay,
I'm gonna be 40 next month.
Yeah, he's gonna split.
Yeah, he's gonna be 42 soon.
5-year-old.
Yes.
Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then like, Rodrigo is annoying kid, you know, like he be on the match with, like my kids now, be on the gym all day with Tattoo, you know.
That's awesome.
And then we spanking him every day. We love him, so, you know. And then he start training jiu-jitsu, like he was just a kid, another kid, like, oh, we don't know if he's gonna be good or not, you know, just another kid on the match.
Yeah.
And then he grow up and he start to take it more serious and start to get better. And then now he's beating me. He's in the punch, in the level, he's better than me, you know. And my mind is, think if 20 years ago, if I didn't help that kid to become what he is now, you know, was of course Tattoo, job work, my work, like he take it that serious and put a lot of work and time on the match, you know. But if you didn't help that kid 20 years ago, he will not be my main partner now, you know. That's why I try to pass for people. Don't think because he's a white belt, you better than him.
Yeah.
Because at one point, you guys going to be in the same level, and maybe he's going to be a better level than you. He can be your best helper, your best partner, you know. That's the thing I try to tell for all my students, you know. I remember clear on my mind, like training with Alexei in the deck for me was like, okay, they walk in the parking, they just destroy me.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to West, it was like long time break training together, right? The deck when Alexei moved even early, but I don't know exactly what year Alexei moved to West, but the deck moved like 2005. And from 2005 to 2010, we didn't roll. It was 5 years gap,
it's a
right?
pretty big gap.
For 5 years, we're not training together.
And you're training hard. I mean,
and that punch was my prime, right?
Yeah.
And
Soul Fighter started.
Exactly.
I mean,
in my mind, SK, last time I rode with the Deco, he destroyed me. And then finally we go training. And finally, I was able to do something for the Deco. In my mind, I was super excited. Oh, man, finally I'm going to be able to beat my coach, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and super cool. And remember to thinking about, maybe if I beat my coach, you're going to be mad. And I remember when I didn't beat him, but I remember when I finished the training with the Deco coming to me and say, kiss me and say, man, I'm so proud of you. you get on my level now.
Wow.
And start to get better than me. And I'm super proud of you and super proud about myself because that she tell me I did a good job. I passed everything that I know. And also you learn some stuff with your other people. That's why I start to get better than me.
That's
awesome. And when he told me that, that's opened my mind and say, man, that's the way I want to see it too, you know?
Yeah.
If I'm able to teach my students, for all my students start to beat me, that tell me I'm doing an amazing job. And I cannot be mad for that. I need to be proud, you know? And that's super cool. Yeah.
When there was I don't know when it was for me, but like, so I don't know when I switched this gear, but definitely in the last 2 years or so, since I started training with you, I remember like we did a private very early on and I told you, I'm like, look, here's where I'm at. Here's what sort of my goals are. And there's some things that I see here and I just really want to start learning some different types of techniques. And so we worked on, a lot of different stuff. I couldn't go. And so like my main training partners would be guys that were kind of like my level, my size and whatnot. We just had a good lineup like that in the classes that I was going to. Now, some of the most valuable training partners that I've got are, and I won't say the guy's name, but I was talking to him in the evening class the other night, and he's just coming back from an injury. And he's a blue belt, just got his blue belt. Maybe he's had it for like a year. He's about 35 years old or so, and he's taller than me, and he's a little bit bigger than me. But like my level's just a little bit higher. And so like when I learn some of these new techniques, I can get just far enough, and he trains hard. So he pushes me, but like it's changed the way that I've been able to learn. If I had to try some of that stuff against like a new black belt or a new brown belt or a purple belt, like I would never learn. And so having people stick around past that like first mark when you're like, I mean, if the mentality is like, I'm just going to smash every white belt that I see or smash every blue belt that I see, like you're going to run out of training partners. I mean, it's a bad way to develop, in my opinion,
I agree. And exactly like you said, like, and also you help that guy a lot.
Yeah.
Think about that guy. He's a blue belt, becoming like, okay, the brown belt, you give him the opportunity to try to do something on him, because that's not your best technique. Of course,
Right.
You're going to open up a gap, right?
Totally. Gonna get past.
And he's going to see that gap. Maybe he's going to work well for him.
Yeah.
And you help yourself, and at the same time, you help him. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's the best way to go. I see that happen with me as well when I moved for Connecticut. I come from like huge place with a ton of black belts for training. Moved for Connecticut, and I see myself with white belts and blue belts on the match. That's it. That was my training. Look at how hard it was for me to train. I used to drive for 4 years. 4 years, yeah. For 4 years, I drive from Connecticut to Massachusetts to train with the deck on Friday. Okay? It's a 3 hours drive. I leave my house 7 a.m., go to that to train with the deck at 12 o'clock. I train with the deck for 1 hour and a half, get in the car, drive back to teach class. For 4 years, I did that every single Friday.
Really?
Because that's the only way I have for training with another black belt. You know?
Wow.
That
makes
was
you really
crazy.
thankful for what we have here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like was like in the way I find myself to train, I say, okay, I'm gonna put those white belts and blue belts or whatever best technique they have.
Yeah.
I have some white belt with a strong grip. Okay, start with a choke.
Yeah.
I have some blue belts with a good sweep. Okay, make out the grips. And then my goal, you cannot sweep me. My goal, you cannot choke
that's awesome.
me.
A way to make it productive,
The only way. That was the way I find it worked pretty well. If you hear about Roger Gracie, he said the same thing when he moved to London. He said, man, I don't have any partner. What am I doing? Physical conditioning and putting myself in bad position.
That's awesome.
That was exactly what happened.
Man, it's a check on the ego too. And I mean, at some point, like, I mean, you've got all of the backing of, the performance that you've done, but like, if you're a new purple belt or a new brown belt, man, it's hard sometimes to put yourself in check and be like, I'm just going to let this guy, cause you pay a tax basically in order to learn stuff. I had kind of a different intro, I guess, to your school, right? Like I had taken a little bit of time off. The voices that are going through my head, right, are like, oh man, I will start again when I get a little bit more in shape. So I'm not gonna start until like I can run a 5K again. Yeah, I can run a 5K, but like I'm not gonna start until I can run fast or something like that, or until I'm at my perfect prime. I'm getting a little old. Maybe I'll stay, maybe I won't. I've talked to other guys that are in that situation, and I know what I would tell them, but you see, and I see on your mats as well, people that have come and gone. I mean, what do you tell somebody that has got some experience or has, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, whatever, black belt, that wants to come back in and train?
Yeah. The only way you're going to get in shape for jiu-jitsu, be on the mat. Like
everybody says that.
Like you can do whatever. They're going to help you. Yes, it will help you. Of course, if you don't do anything, you start to walk every day, they're going to help you, right? But jiu-jitsu is a really unique way to develop your cardio for jiu-jitsu, for get a better grips, strength. They're really specific way, and the only way you're going to be on the match, Like I see there now, we just have a blue belt, Big Alec, right? Who is got a big injury on his knee. He just finished, had a surgery on the knee.
Yeah.
Playing soccer. I think it was soccer or something outside the jiu-jitsu, And he wanted to get it back so bad after 6 months off the match.
Yeah.
He in the point he couldn't bend his leg, but he was on the gym, try to do the technique.
Yeah.
He doing whatever he can to warm up and just drill the technique the way possible, And he said, it's funny because he told me like, I felt my shape, my cardio start to get back just to do that,
Really? Yeah.
Like because he was completely off shape, and then he got it back like just to move himself in the match again. He start to feel in better shape, That's why I say slowly, don't push it. The dumb way would be like, okay, my first day in jiu-jitsu, I'm going to do my best, kill everybody. Don't do that way. Do it smart. Okay, today's my first day. I'm going to try 50% my best, you know? That way you're not going to put yourself in risk. You're not going to kill yourself, and then you're going to be able to come tomorrow. And then you're going to be able to come tomorrow. And then after 2 months doing that, you can start, okay, now I'm going to start to push 100%. And then you're going to start to get better and better and better, you know?
When I came back, I even remember my first night. And again, you know, JB's like, just, this is non-negotiable. You have to go to double five. It's like, okay, cool. That's what I'll do. You know, he and I trained at a different school together a long time ago. And so I told you, I'm like, look, I haven't trained in a couple of years, and there was no judgment. Nobody ever made me feel bad. Nobody ever said, oh, look at him. He's a purple belt. You know, he gassed out. Yes, I think I did, like in the first or second round. And also you're teaming us up. And so, and pairing us up. And so, you know, I do feel like there is kind of a gentle on-ramp for people. When you've dealt with injuries, I've dealt with injuries since I've been with you, for sure. You know, like you've watched me get hurt a couple times doing different stupid stuff, and I'm getting older, and it just kind of happens. What advice do you have for students that inevitably, you know, find themselves kind of banged up or nicked up or whatever the case may be? Yeah,
first of all, avoid the injuries. I think the best way, no ego, right? We have that jiu-jitsu problem.
For sure.
I think that's in every single academy, everybody in the world has that. The ego become really close to injuries. If you have a lot of ego, you're going to end up hurt yourself much more because you don't want to tap, you don't want to lose, and then you end up put yourself in worse positions, right? But if you finally break that down, you not have egos, and accident, of course, happen, and then you end up getting injuries like you did, I did it myself a lot of times, like with no ego, but you still get injuries. I think first you need to make sure that's like nothing too crazy, you know? And if that's not too crazy, try to deal with the injury the best way possible. Like, okay, I fell my shoulder. I cannot post my right arm on the floor. What I need to do? Play bottom. I will be in the gym. Play bottom. If I'm on top, I'm gonna lean more for my left. That way, the probability for me to post my right hand is gonna be smaller, right? Or I'm gonna choose tell my coach, hey, can you put me with easy guys or whatever will be possible, easy. Now, if I'm a white belt and doesn't have easy training, yes, it is has easy training. Okay, the white belt go with some color belt who is there for help, you know, and say, listen. You know what, you're tired, you're a brown belt, go with that white belt, he hurt his elbow, I need you to take it easy with his arm and don't go crazy on that side, he cannot post the hand. That's it. You're gonna training, both you're gonna like, okay, the brown belt is tired, he needs to go an easy round anyways, and the white belt you need to go easy, both gonna go easy, you know? I think if you're able to do that way, they're gonna help you to be on the match, not forget about the technique, because that's another point, right? If you're off the match for a long time, you're losing the timing, you're losing everything you have, and that's not a good deal. If you can avoid that time off and be on the match, deal with your injury the best way possible, and then just go. I have a good example that I heard that a long time ago. I don't know if you guys hear about that guy. The guy who is started the GP half guard. His name is Gordo. His nickname is Gordo, right? Okay. He's from Gracie Barham. The story I heard about, he hurt his knee, and he couldn't do his best position. I don't know exactly what he was, maybe spider guard or lasso guard or whatever. And then, for some reason, he forced himself to be on the gym because he has a competition coming. He doesn't want to stop, and he couldn't use his leg anymore. And then he started to go for trap people leg. That way, he could rotation people, and that's the way he created the GP half guard, the half guard. You know, because he was an injury, and he started to play other situations, whatever he can. And that becoming really big now. Everybody doing GP half guard, right? Yeah, that was the reason. The guy has an injury and becoming like one of the best position we have in jiu-jitsu now.
That's great. That's a perfect example.
Yeah. That's a really good.
If somebody comes in, actually I had no idea that. That's crazy. If somebody comes in and has an injury, it's tough to well, first of all, it's hard to go 50%. Because 50% turns into 98% and turns into 118%. I mean, it goes kind of crazy pretty quick. If I hurt myself, can I come to class?
Yes.
Do I have to spar?
No. That's the timing. That's what happened with Alec. Remember? Just talking about Alec.
Him,
that I will not allow him to spine.
Yeah.
When he walk in, he like has a crazy brace on his leg with the metals on the side, he crunches, exactly.
Yeah.
And he say, what are you doing here? I want to see the technique.
Yeah.
And one point he asked, hey coach, can I jump on the mat? I think that technique I can do it. I have my gi in the car. I said, yeah, sure. And he put the gi and said, you can jump on the mat, but you cannot training. And he didn't he didn't sparring, just like, okay, he did the technique and he sit out again, you know?
Yeah.
And that was the best way he did for keep fresh on his mind, he learning new technique. In that point he was still learning new technique, you know? And I think that's cool. If you have the time, and also you don't disconnect with the jiu-jitsu, you know, you keep that linking, you keep the routine, you know, because like if you talk with any person who is motivated speakers and everything like that, the consistency is the key, right?
Yeah,
like if you put yourself in there, you have like your day schedule and you don't change there, that's important.
Yeah.
And when you see yourself, you get injured, like, okay, every day I train 7 p.m. And then for 1 year, I stopped training 7 p.m. I stay home and watch TV. Mm-hmm. How can I get it back in there, process again, you know?
Yeah.
If you're able to not stop in that process, keep going to the gym, do whatever you can, they're going to help you to get it back fast, I think, that way.
I think people also, it's, you know, it goes back to the comment that you've made. Now, I've had to adjust myself because I'm an older practitioner. I'm not old. I don't even want to say that I'm old because we have people that are a lot older than I am in the gym. And so I just stopped talking about it. But the reality is I do have more susceptibility to injury sometimes. And because of that, like last Thursday, a week ago, I trained, I had it was the week leading up to the competition and I had a plan that week. I trained on Thursday morning. We did a couple really good rounds, had some big guys in the class. And then I wanted to move my body on Thursday night. I felt tight. I felt like and also we were doing good technique that week and I just wanted to get a little bit more, but I also promised myself I won't spar tonight. And I told you, like I'm like, hey, I'm not sparring tonight. Like it's not going to happen. But even that, and even though I know that you're not judging me, it's still an ego thing where I'm like, I have to go sit on the side and I think that's important for people to realize too, is that like nobody is judging you like because you're hurt or because, you know, you're weak. You're not deciding to have this combat, you know.
Be honest, I judge you the right way. I will do the exact the same you did. Yeah. That's me. My opinion is a smart way to take care about yourself. You know, if you have an injury, why I'm going to test and make that worse, you know, like, I need to be smart to know myself enough to like, okay, it's time to take a break, you know. Yeah. I think you did a smart decision. In my opinion, the coach supposed to help those decisions, not make it worse. Like, oh man, come on, you're not training? Like, no. Those type of comments can make you feel bad and make you like, oh, I'm going to train, and then make the injury even worse. Yeah.
I've had it happen. It's happened a couple times. And the other thing is that when you're not sparring and the class is sparring, there's a lot of productive stuff that you can do. Like I get so much out of, that night you were going crazy. Mm-hmm. You were going good rounds with everybody. Yep. And I know you're giving people the space that they need to work. Mm-hmm. While you were doing that, like I got a chance to see new things, you know, and I'm making mental notes. I got to watch people that give me a really hard time, like Jet, for example. I got to watch him going with some of the other folks, and it's different than when you're in this, you know, world on your back, you know, and he's on top. So, and then when we were in Maine, unfortunately I got hurt on the very first day. But you want to talk about like a tale of two different worlds. The first year that I went out there, I trained like crazy. I went out there with that rib injury, and I just told myself, like, every time I get a chance to roll, it's just a gift. Like, so the first night I got there, if my body felt good, I told myself I'm training, and I just kept feeling better. And so I trained probably 100 rounds, maybe more. The next year, a couple months ago, I hurt my shoulder, and day one. And so the first thing that came to my mind is like, well, how can I make this productive? And I'm like, well, look, I can pay a lot more attention in the seminars. I can pick up more details. I'm not going to be able to do some techniques because any counter pressure on my shoulder hurt. But my notes that I took home from that were, I got a book, you know, of finally being able to, you know, really sort of pay closer attention. So like, so you're hurt. I mean, it's not the end of the world. You know, there are ways that you can do jiu-jitsu, you know, and it sucks, but you know, it's not the best.
No, of course, everybody want to be able to do full training, right?
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like, we got to try to always see okay, how can I make that good for myself? You know,
Yeah.
like if it doesn't work that way, it's gonna work any other way. I gotta figure out what way gonna work better. Yeah.
Switching gears just a little bit, like and we were talking a little bit about this morning, but I don't think anybody really realizes how much effort goes into you're running a business at the same time. I mean,
Yes.
like I've seen you in the morning where we've had, you know, the early morning class, and sometimes I'll decide to come into the night class as well. And you're there teaching again, 12 hours later.
Yeah.
And then I get to go home and you still have another class to teach, and there's everything in between. I mean, what happens behind the scenes that people just don't realize?
Yeah. Like first, jiu-jitsu for me was like everybody, right? I started because I want to building self-confidence and whatever,
Yeah.
and then become my job.
Yeah.
You know, but for me it was really smooth the way it worked, you know, because I was a kid, grow up doing jiu-jitsu, and be on the mat is a thing I love. I don't mind to be 20 hours on the mat. I'm cool with that, you know.
Yeah, that's a reality.
Yeah, I'm really cool. But to be the businessman was a thing I never thought about.
Mm-hmm.
And I just realized how hard it is when I opened my academy after becoming a multiple times champion, you know. And then I thought like, oh, because I'm a 100 times champion, I open the academy, I'm gonna have a ton of students in the first day. It doesn't work at all like that. I see a lot of times the opposite. People who has no title at all has a successful academy. People who has a lot of titles has a terrible academy just because they don't know how to run the business.
Yeah.
And for me, my wife was like, really like, try, you know.
Yeah.
We figured out the process, testing. Okay, that's the way I think it's gonna work. Let's see. Oh, didn't work. We'll stop. Find another way. Oh, that's work. Okay, keep it going and make it even better. You know, like that was for us was everything testing. You know, and I felt comfortable just now. I would say like after 3 years with the academy open, finally I think I know a little bit about business. You know? And be on the mat teaching all the classes is cool because I mean with like teaching class for me, I become a really friend with all my students. You know. Pretty much hang out with my friends in the academy, you know. Of course, it has this hard parts like I'm tired, I don't want to cheat today, but I need to do it, you know. But I believe any other job is the same. I don't have other job, but I believe it's exactly the same way, you know. I believe you in your job has those days to say, man,
Sure.
I wish I don't need to go there today, and then you need to go. But for me, it's like no big deal, you know, teaching class. I really enjoy to see the progress, you know. I love to see white belts become a black belt, you know. I really enjoy that process, and I felt really proud because, like I say, I did that. I make that guy be that guy, you know. Like I really enjoy this.
I can see that, and it's funny because like I do think there is an element of like people, you know, for a lot of people, myself included, you know, this is not what I do for a living. You know, like I have to work. I mean, my kids have birthdays. I have things that I need to do, you know, like, and so when I get a chance to go to jiu-jitsu, then it's fun. It's a big part of my day. It's a highlight of my day, and you're always there. So people see like and associate only the good things, you know, but the more I've gotten to know you, and I see it with Rodrigo as well. I mean, like the amount of time that you guys put into this, and it's easy to see only the good things and say, oh, well, it just must be perfect, you know, or like, oh, well, there's all these students and everything. But I'm sure it didn't start that way. You know, it's easier said than done.
See
to
now,
pull it
right?
off successful.
Yeah.
It's like we were talking about before. Everybody sees kind of where you're at now, but like all of the journeys and all the long nights and the responsibilities. Are there any like lessons to be learned in jiu-jitsu and business that you've seen together?
Yes, I think the most important lesson I tell in all the time in my promotions belting, the business that I think is the important to do the same. Don't compare yourself with your friend or with your your competitor, you know. Like I cannot look at my academy and say, okay, why my academy doesn't go that fast the way the next door gym do it, you know. Like don't try to compare yourself because it has a lot of things to change. Maybe the way you advertise, maybe because the area you have your academy doesn't work the same, doesn't work that way. It's not that simple, like not 2 + 2 is 4, you know, like gonna be different, you know. And I believe if you just worry about what you're doing, doesn't worry about what happening around you, gonna make you much more successful. And that's the way. Like, I don't care how many academies I have around me. I don't wanna care. I don't know, and I don't wanna know how many students my competitor has, and how many students I do have. Like, I don't care. I just do my best every day. And if I believe if I do my best every day, more people will come. I will be more successful that way. That's what I think. In jiu-jitsu, same thing. Like, when I'm training, I don't train to beat you. I train to be myself. I want to be better than me. And of course, who is going to pass my guard? Dave, I want to sweep him, But like, if you get your black belt before me, I will not be mad because I beat Dave every day. Why he's black belt? I'm not. I don't care, like, because my coach sees something I didn't see, or he maybe expect more from me, like, we have many reasons to promote people. And I believe that's like, the day people learn it there, take a couple years for learn. The day you understand that, you start to be much more productive. You're gonna be way better in your jiu-jitsu life or in your business life. I believe both connect really well.
Your teaching of that lesson, you were not the first person that told me that, but you're the first person that I listened to about not comparing yourself to other people. And you gave a really good speech on the belt promotion when you got your 5th degree. And I remember listening to that and thinking about it, and having to kind of change my mentality, especially with some of the training partners that we've got, because we have blue belts that are Division 1 wrestlers that are 25 years old. Okay, I just got my brown belt, and I'm trying to keep myself from getting my guard pass, and this guy has literally only done that since he was a kid. I'm going to try to defend a takedown for somebody. Like, that's a silly comparison. I can test myself and whatnot, but if that suddenly becomes a big failure, or I give up and I feel like my jiu-jitsu's terrible as a result of it, I mean, you just won't last in this. You'll go home crying every night.
And don't take it wrong. Like, you can say, like, okay, I don't want to let that guy pass my guard. That's a good goal.
Yeah,
that's a good goal.
Right, 100%.
But be like, okay, for example, I go against Division 1 wrestling, 25 years old. I'm 40 years old. Never did wrestling in my life. And say, I need to take this kid down.
Yeah.
It was a dumb idea, I will probably end up hurt myself. I can do every day, say, I want to get better on my feet. I want to be on my feet with him longer. That's cool, but I will probably never be able to beat it at 25 years old as a 40 years old who's doing, like, never did wrestling in my life, and he's doing wrestling for his whole life, It's like, almost impossible, but I can definitely work around and say, okay, I want to get a better from learning from him and do my best to get a better. That's the way.
100%. I mean, look, I've not to talk too much about it, but I've seen it in business too, where people that chase other people for the sake of growing. I mean, it's not a for sure ticket to fail, but I mean, you're going to set yourself up with bad habits and make bad decisions as a result of it, because growth just for the sake of growth is, that's just not where it's at. And I've talked to you a little bit about your business strategy and whatnot in the past. And I mean, like, whether you know it or not, I mean, you've got a good instinct, because I've heard kind of the calculus that you've used for some of it. And it's just, some of it's common sense, and it's just a good way to kind of run a business. So we've been going like an hour and a half. I know you have a class you've got to teach. What's next, man? I mean, what's next for Formiga? What's next for Double Five? I mean, what do we have to look for? You've been growing like crazy. I mean, you got new affiliates. You've got, you're competing still. Your school's incredibly successful.
Yeah, the goal for me as athlete is to keep competing as long as I can. Okay, be honest, I don't have that goal anymore to become a world champion 20 more times. Doesn't matter. I just want to be on the match, health, and I believe if I competing, I teach my students to competing. I really believe, because I see every single competition I sign up, more students sign up. And I didn't say anything. They just see my name and they go. I think it's a good example. I try to do the example, to be the example. And then as for the team, for Double Five, for my academy, we're growing, and I want to keep growing. And I want to give you more class. I want to offer better product for my students. I want to offer even better and better and better, the best I can. As I'm learning something new, that's how I want to put it more on my business. I want to be able to one day be somebody say, oh, that's the best academy in the area. That's my goal, and I just try to do better every day. And for the double five business, we didn't have that goal, but end up in that way. We growing crazy. And then I start to see myself like with a potential to have a really big association, and be a big team in this in the competition scenario, and that's become the goal now. We wanna like for 2024, 23 and 24. Start to win more opens, the IBJJF opens, because the opens, be honest, is the big competition. We have those small competition. What's cool to be the team to win, but I want to win those opens, and I want to be in the point, the double five, start to win all the local opens, all the IBJJF locals, and start to make noise on the big competitions, placing the podium as a Pan Am or competition, world competition. That's the goal. But I know that's a long term, we're not talking about 2 years or 3, we're talking about 5-10 years, That's the goal. Like now focus on the open, and then, but in 10 years from now, 5 years from now, become one of the big teams on the scenario, like be like huge, like Gracie Barro, Atos, or on those teams,
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, it seems like it's kind of on that path. I mean, obviously we saw it in Waco this weekend, and luckily we're in an area where this stuff hits all the time. I mean, we've got a trifecta between Oklahoma City, Houston, Austin, Waco, Dallas, and everything in between. You've got affiliates in Phoenix?
Yeah, we have Phoenix, Mississippi, Connecticut, New York, here in Dallas a lot.
You got hit Dallas hard.
Yeah, we have a lot in Brazil. We have Mexico. We have a lot of affiliations. We're growing really fast. Here, except here. Here we just closed out the last 2 months. We have 6 new affiliations. Yeah,
crazy. Crazy.
That's good.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch that kind of take place. I am terrible at social media, so I don't know much. But like, how do people find you if they want to find you?
Yeah, they can find me in the Instagram, Rafael Formiga Barbosa. That's the easy way. That's the social media I use more. I still have Facebook, but I, to be honest, I use much more my Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they find me on Google and
YouTube. If you want to watch some technique,
Flow Grappling, 100%. They can see all my matches on Flow Grappling.
You've got some videos that are out there as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and then of course, if anybody wants to train, we're here in Highland Village, Texas, and we've got good. It's fun to have guests come in.
We love. I'm a big fan about cross training. I love when people come training. I love to my students go train with other academies, and I really think that's important for everybody, and everybody's welcome here.
That's awesome, man. Well, look, I mean, there's a lot of draws on your time, and this project for me. I mean, this has been something that I don't know if this is going to go far or not. I hope it touches more people than local, but I know that there's somebody else out there that needed to hear everything that you're talking about, and I do think it's going to make a big difference. And I couldn't think of anybody better than to kick this thing off than have you here. And so, I mean, I really do appreciate you spending an hour and a half with me, doing this little experiment.
Thank you so much. I really enjoy to be here, and I love those type of broadcasts because, like, I think it's important. Some people waiting for their conversation to start or their conversation to get back on the mat. I really appreciate what you're doing for the BJJ community. That's really cool.
That's awesome. And I will just kind of close out with just this personal story, and one of the things that has totally changed my thinking in jiu-jitsu was your promotion to the 5th degree. And you had Alexi in, you had Dedeco in. The mat had I don't know how many people we fit into there that day, but when I got a chance to experience what a personal day that was, and the stories that you told stories about Rodrigo being in your wedding and a little kid and stuff. Yeah. But I also watched how everybody else felt and how connected it was with your wife and with Dedeco and with Alexi, and the stories that they told about you growing up and whatnot. It made me realize that this was something that was a lot bigger than me. And it's easy when you're in jiu-jitsu to think about like, hey, tonight is my night. I'm going to go. I have an hour to train. This is a very personal thing. But one of the things that's made it such an enriching experience for me has been realizing that this is much bigger. And so this is something that is for the jiu-jitsu community as a whole. And I hope that it's meaningful. And man, I want to thank you for being a mentor to me to the last couple of years and a friend, and then just changing the world for me, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate you to be in my side and trust on me to be the mentor for you. And I really appreciate your friendship.
It's awesome. Well, to everybody that's out there, thank you for listening. This was the BJJ Executive Podcast, and we're out.